death, lashings, it all happens because Sharia law prescribes it. Now, radical Muslims want to implement Sharia law into our Western societies. And they are, unfortunately, very successful in doing so, helped by the Western cultural relativists, the useful idiots, as former Soviet leader Vladimir Lenin described the unknowingly who helped his cause. In my favorite country, Britain, Sharia courts are now officially part of the legal system. A lot of people don't know that. Very few people are aware of that. They have been empowered to adjudicate on financial disputes, on divorces, and on domestic violence. And there are many more examples of the rising of Sharia in Europe today. Halal food is served in many schools and universities. More women every day are forced to wear the burqa or the niqab. Islamic banks are mushrooming, and polygamy, female genital mutilation, honor killings, and Muslim men who refuse to shake hands with women are all part of 2009 Europe. And a few weeks ago, a British Muslim leader told his version of Britain under Sharia law. And according to the British Evening Standard, Anjem Choudary wants a pure Islamic state with Sharia law in Britain. He said that he would like to see the flag of Allah flying over Downing Street. Ladies and gentlemen, this would mean the end of our precious liberties, even though with Gordon Brown in office, one might not see easily the difference. Sharia. Sharia means the end of our hard-won freedom. For Sharia denies the equality of men and women and Muslims and non-Muslims. It does not allow Muslims to leave Islam. Renegades, apostates should be killed according to Islam. Sharia advocates slavery and does not recognize democracy. As a matter of fact, Sharia is exactly the opposite of democracy. And unfortunately, among European Muslims, the support for this creeping Sharia law is indeed substantial. Last year, the British Centre for Social Cohesion released a survey held on the British Muslim students. And some of the outcomes were indeed horrifying. 32% said that killing in the name of Islam is justified. And 40% of the British Muslim students said that they supported the introduction of Sharia law instead of British law. But please, don't think it's only a European problem. We are worse off than the United States, but also in the United States there is a process of Islamization. There are numerous examples. For instance, Muslim cab drivers who refuse to transport passengers possessing alcohol or guide dogs. Muslim students demanding separate housing on campus and separate hours for Muslim women in gyms and swimming pools. And many US journalists who I personally met who told me that they self-censor themselves, being afraid of being sued and taken to court. And as I said, these Muslims are aided by the present-day useful idiots. And the classic example of my own country is the former Attorney General, what we call the Minister of Justice. Just after the Dutch filmmaker and criticaster Theo van Gogh was murdered by a jihadist in the streets of Amsterdam, our former Attorney General was of the opinion, that was his first reaction, that blasphemy should not longer be a dead letter. And a few years later, he even said in the Dutch parliament that he was willing to introduce Sharia if 2/3 of the Dutch people would advocate that. Fortunately, there are also some politicians who are not giving in. Former Republican US Congressman Tom Tancredo is one of those people. Last year, Last year, he introduced his Counter-Sharia Jihad Prevention Act. And this bill would bar the entry of people who advocate Sharia law in the United States. And this is exactly what we need. Brave leaders who have the courage to do something against the growing Islamization. Ladies and gentlemen, we have no alternative than to stop the Islamization of the West. Because if we don't, we will roll back for centuries. It will mean the end of our civilization.